In 1979, yes, about that period, I stopped making completely paintings because I started to do wall reliefs, and the wall reliefs, as I said before, became the sculpture. So I stopped completely. It's only in the year 2000 that I had the idea one day to put on my wall in my living room a mathematical equation, because I wanted to change my environment. I wanted to take out those paintings and drawings that were too traditional for me. So I decided to put a mathematical equation. When that was finished, I looked at it and I realized how fresh, how new what I had in front of me was. And I decided to start making wall paintings for exhibitions that were coming up in several museums in Geneva, Switzerland, but also in South America. And I saw that there was an incredible potential. Now, the subject matters were decided while I was trying to find something completely original in relationship to what had been done in art. When what I was presenting was very far from anything looking like a painting, I thought it was interesting. Now, it was very intuitive at the beginning. I decided that, it was a continuation of the work that I did in the 60s, and it was with a lot more freedom, but still it was some pure, complete equation at that time. But of course, I painted with a blue background, a yellow background, a red background, I was taking some freedom, just to make something visually very rich, very interesting. Then the work developed, and I started to make what I call the saturation, where I started to put some text, mathematical text, and on top of it another mathematical text with different dimensions of lettering. And I was finding the result relatively interesting. So I did that. And more recently I came back again to do pure text, because there is something interesting, I think, about it, theoretically interesting. You see, I think that would be enough if I explain that. We all know what abstract art looks like. We know since Kandinsky to today all the variations which have been made, lyrical, expressionist, geometric abstraction, all those kind of things. So we are here talking about abstract art. But you see, when you look at a painting, like this one, although this is not the ideal, the typical one, if it will be like a pure mathematical text, it would be ideal. But when you look at a painting like this, and you see a text of mathematical, a text of mathematics written on it, it is true that you don't have something that looks like abstract art, but you have the highest level of abstraction that a painting can present. And this is a very important point. You see, it doesn't look like abstract art, but it's more abstract than any abstract painting. So theoretically, I find that interesting. And of course, today, with the few variations that we have here, I take a lot of freedom. I try to do something visually interesting. It's not just enough to have a theoretical idea like this. So I improvise and I do some shaped canvas paintings. The text can be cut sometimes, but nevertheless, the text is about mathematical equation. Most of the time I'm using text by Kurt Gödel, who is an Austrian mathematician, probably the most important mathematician that ever existed, since he questions the validity of mathematics before him, and came up with the idea that nothing was totally right about mathematics because it was incomplete, and he came with that theory about incompleteness, which is a major thought in human mind history, actually. So I'm using a lot Kurt Gödel for those texts.